All right, mobility, flow, and balance. If you've got a stick, grab it. It could be a broomstick that you've detached. It could be your little PVC pipe from Home Depot. And I'm going to do a couple with the stick, and then I'm going to grab my band just to show you the versatility. As once you realize that your elbow gets to soften, because that's what that hinge helps you with your extension work and getting around yourself. The allowance of allowing the arm to bend as it comes through this high aspect of movement makes the movement more doable for the masses, right? If you have really good shoulder mobility, then you'll be able to keep your elbows at extension and pull through a greater range of motion without bending the arms. But I find that when go the other way, and I'm going to grab my my band now just for versatility. So stick or band, okay? It could even be a big towel, just something that gives you the, pulling against aspect. So your shoulders have a job, and the beauty of using, like we could just flail our arms around us with nothing and go, how is that any different than what we're doing with our accessory? What your accessory provides for you is shoulder abduction while you're trying to get into extension. And now this green strap is a high tension strap, so it's not allowing me to pull. I'm pulling on it, but it's not stretching because it's got a great amount of tension to it. If you were using your yoga strap, right, you would be able to have the beauty of extra length of strap, but no tension. And here's the thing. I want you now to go and reverse the movement, get yourself all the way back around to the front, and then reverse the movement the other way. I've now incorporated a little bit of a leg swing to it, or leg swivel. All right. We have to work for the end range extension. And why is that so hard to get? It's so hard to get because if your posture is such where you're getting hunched over and you don't even realize that the majority of your day, your hands are sitting like this looks very obvious that something's wrong with me, right? But the slow progression of your body's postural change will leave you with your elbow bowed out and the palms turned back. So now as you go through your day, anytime you catch yourself with your hands turned back, you know that your shoulder is sitting in the wrong spot. So now that your shoulder is sitting in the wrong spot and you try to go and put your arm around your body, guess what? It doesn't go, right? Exactly. So even with a stick or a band, if your hands are turned the wrong way, right, then you're not going to get very far. So couple more, go all the way around yourself, get all the way around. Even if, this is the last one, even if you have to slow it down and coax, try recruiting, it's called subscapular. Try sliding your wing down as you're trying to manipulate, right, the arm behind you, and release and relax. All right, you still need your stick. I'm going to put my band away. So Chris, you've just joined the party. I started with a stick, but then I went to the band to show the versatility of if you didn't happen to have a stick. But now we're doing rotator cuff stretch, and this is a tricky one. Aren't they all, right? So not only is it slightly complicated, but you're going to take your stick and you're going to drape it behind the back of that arm. Simple enough, right? So already the hand is trying to compensate, but we'll address that in a moment. You've got a free hand. grab the bottom of your stick. And now, in its most basic form, you're going to swing the end of the stick forward, which rocker arm. I call it the rocker arm. It rocker arms the arm back. Okay, so now that is the beginning of the stretch. How hard is it for you to hold on to your stick? And at some point, right, as you get hold of your stick, now you're like, you got your stick pulling forward, the shoulders are depressed. Remember your scapulas? They're always going to be needing to spread out from right to left side, depress, and slight retraction. Okay, so now your wayward hand. If you've only just barely got the stick with your fingers, release some of the pull so that you can take your thumb, put it with the rest of your fingers, and now the stick is resting along the wrist and the palm. Yikes. That alone should have just changed your whole, you might feel like now you're kind of contorting yourself to get your hand to do the right thing. But we're going to swing, we're going to change the angle of the arm. So it's right in front of you, right? So instead of it being over here to your side body, it's in front. And now, like a little pendulum, you're going to rock the stick forward. And this is going to permit you to go, okay, if you could put yourself in front of a mirror, you're going to stand in front of the mirror and go, okay, what am my sight line here? Drop the shoulders, expand across the front of the chest, pull on the stick until you have a little bit of tension. Right? And you're just gonna like rock the body. Time under tension. You're at end range. It's not going to feel really comfortable. And I'm going to let go because I want to pinpoint using my hand on the stretching arm side to show you where you might be feeling this. So don't let go. There is a junction right in this V part deep inside the shoulder, right? That's where you might be feeling the stretch, and that's an okay thing. Release, relax. Side number 2. Part of me wants to try this with a band. I just generally use a fixed object because there is a position of the arm is at that angled position where the elbow is level with the pit, right? And then what do you have to do to get the stick to swing through for you to grab it? And then look at your hand. It helps if you put your eyes on your own hand and you're like, wow, how do I manipulate my hand so that my thumb goes where the rest of the fingers are, and then my wrist and the heel of my hand is now the bracing part across the stick. And now that you may have that, right? Close the arm in a little bit and pull the stick through. And if your body feels good enough for you to kind of sweep back and forth, just as the sweeping back and forth of you is just a distraction, really, to what the sensation is in your shoulder. And now, because from right to left side, you may have a varying sensation. So maybe don't let go of your stick. Maybe what you're feeling happens to be along the cuff part of the shoulder. Okay. So there's not a wrong place or a only one spot that you might be feeling this. It really just depends on how tight all the parts that connect into the rotator cuff are. So you ready? From right to left shoulder, expand your body, stand up tall, drop the shoulders from across your middle back, give a little retracted shoulder blade because we are depressing and retracting while we're holding tension, and release. So now it's time for shoulder circumduction. You don't need your stick. If you feel like your back is easily fatigued, then you might need, I'm going to use my foam roller for the sake of just having a little bit of hand support, but it's just for visual, just to show you, okay? So you could use your chair. But the foam roller is it's a little less stable than a chair, right? So you're only going to be able to offload a little bit of your weight using the foam roller. So your shoulder circumduction is a circular motion, all right? How much support do you need? The more support you feel like your body needs to be in forward hinge, not C curve round. Okay. So you want to be in hip hinge, and the more support you feel like you need, get closer to the object that's supposed to be giving you support. All right. So much so that for me, if I were doing this without instructing and talking to you, I would lay my forehead right on my forearm. Ah, nice and comfortable, right? So now reverse your circle. What you're trying to do is keep your legs a little bit soft-kneed so that it's easy for you to be in hip hinge with a nice clean spine in S. All right. So we've got circles in each direction. And now come up. You're like, I was just getting comfortable. So now what you've got is hand on the foam. And I want you to get out of C curve spine, right? Reestablish your S. And I want you to feel yourself kind of rock. So you're taking your foam, the body and arm are moving together. What we're trying to do is to get this arm to be heavy. We want gravity to work for us, and we don't want to hold the muscles up nice and tight. We want to let them relax. So we're just creating fluid motion. We could even put a couple pounds in our hand to allow the rock, but you're just rocking and swinging, rocking and swinging. And the reason why I'm using my foam is not because I need it for balance, but I'm just keeping the visual demonstration of, if I verbalize to you, use this prop if you need it, but then I never actually show you what it might look like if you're using a prop, I've set you up for failure, right? So now relax. Maybe you don't look at it that way, but it's really crucial that if someone's going to say, oh, if this doesn't work, do this, if they don't show you how to do the other, then it's like they've not helped you. Ready? I'm just spinning myself around, and I'm going to go in for tight extra support. Forearm, if you were on your chair, using your chair, could use your chair back, right? You could use the back of a sofa, a high counter. If you were using the seat of the chair, you would have your hand on the chair. The foam roller is like the perfect height. Get away from it, or move the feet away enough so that your spine can be long. And how do you get yourself in a supported position where your neck is relaxed, your legs are hip width apart, the legs are bent, and you're maintaining S curve spine. And now the weight of the arm is heavily hanging, but not so much that you're cockeyed. All right, so here we go, starting your circles. Everything about this there shouldn't be any pain. See, things can be awkward. Maybe you're feeling awkward, right? Awkward doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it wrong. It just means it's unfamiliar to you because you haven't done enough of it. Reverse your circle. The reason why I opt to put my forehead on my arm instead of my chin, right, is because the neck maintains neutral in relation to the rest of the spine. So if I had my chin braced on my arm, that would be putting a kink in my neck. And guess what? That's not good. So we want long neck, long spine, soft knees. Your back is relaxed. Everything's just freely moving. And now come up, hand on the foam, right? I'm going to take same side, arm and leg, push the hips back, right? Sweep. It's like, even though I'm in a forward body line, right? Like this more vertical line doesn't actually count. It's weird. It's a whole different movement. But I remember when Amy was doing some shoulder rehab, and she had come in and we were practicing her shoulder circumduction, and she's like, and she's like, he got me into a forward hinge, and we were letting the weight of the arm, because I didn't always do it like this. I didn't incorporate. There was a time when I learned and my legs were stable and we were just swinging the arms, doing an X pattern. But now what she told me about her therapy was, it's helpful. You don't have to move your foot in and out, right? It's helpful that your body helps you glide into it to keep the heavy hanging arm. The rest of it is that as the arm is swinging, your back might get lazy and you might end up looking like this. So I want you to do 5 more and pay close attention to a long spine where your hips are pushing back. And I just keep shaking out my arm as a little reminder, oh, I'm not supposed to be pinching my shoulder blade back. Now, release and relax. And isn't it confusing to try to figure out, when are my shoulders supposed to be retracted? When am I supposed to be in C curve? Why is it sometimes C curve, most of the time S curve? It all depends on what we're doing. And so each range of motion has a different criteria that we're trying to command the body into. Okay, you're like, wow, I just segued right into another position. Look at the letter that my arms are making. You're like, it looks like 2 V's, right? But technically it's called a W. Right? So your foam roller happens to be the perfect length for you. Maybe this is another shoulder extension position, right? So if you cannot slide your stick or foam behind your head without you having to jut your head forward, all right, then you're going to stop at the top of the head. Okay. And so your letter that you're making with your arms won't be a W, but if you can, without pushing the head forward, right, slide your foam back to the tops of the shoulders, and now pause. So for those of us with the foam behind the head, I'm going to turn to the side to show you something. Hips, pull them through, tuck the belly, squeeze the buns. Now, most of the time when I watch people do this, what happens is their elbows track way back beyond their body, right? So if we were bringing the foam to the front and your elbows were tracking behind you, that's actually wrong. You want your elbows. So if you're stopping at the top of your head, I'm going to have you increase your movement so that the foam comes right down to the tops of the clavicles, to the point where you then put your chin on it. Let's go ahead. Everybody get here so we're all doing the same thing. The foam is in front of you or your stick, and you're bringing your chin towards your foam. Now, let me turn to the side again. Your elbows should not be behind you. You're like, oh, kick the elbows forward. That's it. Push it up. You have to imagine that there is a weight attached to the elbows. And so as the arms lower, the weight pulls the elbows straight down to the floor so that it tracks in line with your trunk. If your elbow is any place other than straight down, your rotator cuff, right, and your shoulder anterior delt is malfunctioning. So you decide behind the head or to the front of the clavicle, slowing yourself down enough so that you can go and identify maybe which might require you to turn your head and go, is my elbow behind me? 5 more. Maybe you want to alternate, some to the front, some to the back. Keep getting your head out of your way. This is all such great upper back work. And now relax the arms. Done right. You don't need any weight. Those muscles, there are certain muscles that get so taxed because we're very tight. It's called upper cross syndrome. So when you go to put your arms up and your traps come up with you and you can't get your arms straight, you are someone who's falls into the label of having upper cross syndrome. And that doesn't sound like a fun syndrome to have, right? Exactly. Sit on your little ball, bouncing ball, belly to spine. Get all your parts positioned where you want them. So here's options. You can just lift the heels and let them bob. Maybe you feel confident enough to get both feet to lift off the floor, right? Maybe you're like, I want to do something more. Can we twist the arms? Maybe the bouncing just is too like puts you into that like spatial vertigo thing. Then don't bounce, right? You can temper it as much as you want to. I love the bounce. One, for it puts a smile on my face and makes me feel like I'm playing. But two, I know that the bouncing is actually really good for training my muscles that run along the spine. Okay. So the impact in the down is what I'm trying to be most mindful of, and to keep this rigidity to my spine so that on the down, I don't feel my hips collapsing under me. That's really important. And now, if you've got your hands going, I want your arms, so you're kind of relaxing your elbows. It's going to seem like you're kind of spazzing out, right? The wrists are shaking, the elbows are soft, you're bouncing. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening here. It's like a sensory overload for your body. 5, 4, 3, 2, cut. Now, for me, I just found that as a letting my body go in that last position, my feet separated wider. So I'm closing them in a little bit. I'm going to stop because I'm in the wrong spot on my ball. Make the adjustments so that you feel like you're sitting top center. And because I didn't put a mat down, I feel like my feet have a little bit of slide to them. So I'm having to pay extra close attention to not letting my ball roll towards my calves. So keep using your hips to push back into the ball to get your spine position. And now pick up tempo. And even if your toes are not leaving the floor, but you're just doing the heel taps, pick up tempo. If you're trying to actually do like a little running tempo, that's would be my preference for you. It's all circulation time right now. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and cut. I feel like my legs just did something, right? I feel circulation, right? And I feel like it's already dissipated, but I felt like the tension from impact, I felt my muscles firing. So I hope you did too. All right, ready? Circles. Think phenomenal abdominals. All right. Your circles can be as big as you can tolerate without the breakdown of posture. So this is one of those times where we get to incorporate C curve as it comes through the front glide into your controlled S sit. C curve, S. So as you come through the forward position and you feel your body in this hollowed out scoop line, that's the time where you should be practicing the drawing in maneuver. You're like, I've heard about that. What does that mean? Okay. So there's a right time to be inhaling and exhaling. And it's on the exhale that you want to feel like everything in the middle is getting drawn in towards the navel while you're exhaling without putting unnecessary stress through the neck and shoulders. So again, this would be if you had a mirror in front of you, I would want you fixated on your facial expression and what's happening here around the neck. A lot, you can tell a lot. Reverse the circle. I can tell a lot when I watch my clients going through something like this or at a time where they're supposed to be drawing the abs in and breath is at a crucial timing of the movement. If the inhale gets you jacked up where your shoulders rise and the ribs lift, right? I already know that the focus is in the wrong part of the body. So we're keeping this calm and we're trying to focus on this small little section, right? Without having any revealing anything up here. So now that I've given you some really clean parameters to function in, inhale, everything's in neutral, but pull your belly in, exhale. Inhale, slow exhalation. You've got about 5 more. And so as you're slowing yourself down, trying to be really precise, right? Your mind to muscle should be engaged right into the under portion of the rib, into the belly. Exhale, right? Do this last one. C curved spine. No tension is showing up in your face. Pull through. Release and relax. All right. You need your chair. We'll probably incorporate the ball again. So can I say, get your chair and get your book, right? Maybe even a little drink. Maybe I shouldn't put this in a we form. I'll put it in an I form. So I know that I am a grinder, right? I grind my teeth. And so in the day, I spend a lot of time trying to relax the jaw, stretch my neck, right? Like not hold tension. And yet I still do. So much so that like when I sleep, I used to get my jawline so worked up. I was like, do I have TMJ? Right. And I remember going to one of my massage therapists. Get your books as squared up as you can. I want you to imagine like we're back in the Cleopatra days where we're wearing a neck, beautiful necklace, but it's like got rings, right? So I want you to feel like your neck is being lengthened, right? Sitting up nice and tall. Now, arms are going to move. Stretch them up. Turn the palms into each other. Open them. Open, down, 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 down. Woof. Raise them up. So you're keeping your hands, arms long, palms turned up, fingers spread from one another. Reach up. Belly is pulled in. The neck, stay elongated with it. And this might, when you're doing your little adjustments, right? The book may go into slide mode. So be prepared to like just keep resetting your form if that's the thing. But I wonder, remember our sit to stand that we've been practicing? Relax the arms. You're like, yes. So can you offset one leg to the other? Right? Stack. So they're not only hip width apart, one is sitting forward, staggered stride. Now, As you go to raise your arms, I want you to start moving your body weight with the intention of what would you have to do to stand up? You're like, do you really want me to stand up? I want us to try. So release the arms. And if you went ahead and stood up, stay there because I'm coming to join you. Can you get up without dropping your book? Now, can you get down without dropping your book? Where's the chair? Where is it? You know it's there. Oh, release the arms. Did the book drop off? Okay. So here's the thing. Switch feet. We don't all have the same amount of strength from hip to knee alignment thing, right? So what I mean by that is if you manage to get up, but then when you went to sit down, there was such a gap between how low you could really get and keep your form that you plopped down and your book fell off. Stand up. Now, if your book fell off when you went to sit down, I want you to hold your book and I want you to go get an extra pillow and put it on your chair because you need extra support. We don't normally do sit to stands with a book on our head, but the book gets to help identify to you that when the book isn't there and you sit down, chances are your form is not maintaining its clean position. Switch feet. We're only going to do one more each leg. Ready? I'm trying to keep my book from falling off. So I know you are too. Here you go. Arms up, stand up. Sit down. And isn't it amazing with the staggered stride and the book, if you're finding this out, is that you have your trailing leg as your dominant leg, because that's the leg that's going to get you closer to the chair. So it is by default doing more work, which is why we're doing alternating staggered leg stride. Stand up. Lean your weight onto your trailing leg. Guide yourself down. Where's the end range? Plop, relax. Set the book off for a second. Nicely done. All right, spread the legs. Twist. Just glide into a little bit of an angle, reach up. I'm going to take us further with this one when we go to stand up, okay? Other side, the arm is pushing the knee open, the trunk is long, we're rotating the body and getting a little bit of that kind of the QL oblique line, all of that. That iliac crest is what it's called. Right? Release and relax. Now, stand up. So you all know that I like to do a lot of glide movements. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Spread the legs further than you think they should be. And now we're going to bend a leg. The other leg is going to stay straight. And the goal is to slide down, push this knee open, glide down, glide down, glide down. Wow. Right? Turn your head, look high. How do we get out of it? Strong body, slide up, slide up, slide up. This is a partial movement, okay? Take the other leg, twist it out a little bit because it will free you up into the glide. Your arm is being used as your brace. You're like, well, it's kind of like that movement that we do in our warrior series, which is extended side angle stretch. Kinda. Push the knee open, so we're in hip abduction, and then the leg glides forward so we get the stretch. The arm maintains its push, the other arm maintains its reach. You bend into it, and at some point you might feel like your body can't go anymore, but if it can, the arm keeps tracking along the inside of the leg. Turn the head, look up at your hand. This for me always presents a adjustments. Pull up, Now, walk out of it, grab your book. We're going to go into the next thing with the book, and then we'll come back for our slightly harder version of that. Book on head, walking around your space. Okay, here we go. You get to decide how difficult you're going to make what we do for our feet, right? Your next focus. So beyond just keeping the book on your head, there are foot drills that we do for the strengthening of the arches. I've already started. So if you're staring at the screen, you're like, what are you doing? Without looking down, I'm trying to put my feet as close together as I can, but then get on the side edges of my feet, which might require you to soften your knees a little bit. So now you can't look down. I just want you to walk around your space a little bit, whether your legs are stiff or if it feels better for them to be bent. It's a massive amount of arch work in conjunction with stretching the outer bands that run across the ankles. Okay, so now take your legs, work the feet further apart, bend the legs like you're drawing those knees into a very collapsed squat position. There's going to be a sweet spot in there where you don't feel the outside edge of your foot touching the floor, but yet you still feel like the restriction maybe is across the top of the ankle. All right, sorry, I just moved too fast. Okay, so you're going to just walk into it. It's these things that I get people doing in the gym, and because I do them with, I don't leave somebody out to dry where they're in the gym doing this by themselves, because it can make you a little self-conscious when you're like doing something really slow and weird. So there we go. Give me a few more steps. 5, 4, 3, 2, come up. And if you're working on a hard floor, obviously that wouldn't have felt good. I didn't even think about that. So now, can you walk on your heels for about 10 little steps? 9, 8, 7, 6. Pull the hips through. 4, 3, 2. Can you walk on your tiptoes? 10, 9, 8. So many people who lose the ability to get off of the flat foot position also lose the ability to move quickly. Release and relax. That's all I'm saying. No book. Bring your chair back into the equation. All right. So now, one of my favorite movements, we're combining two things. We're combining a move that we haven't done for a while, and we're going to combine it with that twisting lunge. It's not really a lunge though. So here's one of my favorites. It's thoracic spine rotation, right? You got hand on the bench and one leg bends, the other arm reaches. So the legs just swish from side to side, okay? The hand that's on the bench, you use it to help push you back to help you get your rotation. Seems simple enough, right? Swish down, bend the leg. The arm that's moving, that leg is now bent on that side of the body, but don't let the knee collapse in. Maintain the integrity of the knee and the foot staying neutral. And then when you go to swish the other way, the other leg is going to want to collapse in. You've got to look down at your knee and go, she's right. Push that knee open so the foot is now flat. And now, my friends, is where the movement starts. So here we are. Arm up. The legs are positioned properly. Take your hand from the chair, let it go, arm to the inside of that bent leg, slide down that leg, look up at the ceiling. Oh my goodness. Ready? Pull yourself up. Take the high hand, put it on the chair, take the other arm, swish, hold your position. Look at your knee. on the leg that's supposed to be bent. Make sure the knee isn't sliding in towards the other leg. Get the foot flat and the knee pushing open. You're going to take your hand from the chair and you're going to put that arm along the inside of that leg. Look up at the high arm. Slide that lowering arm down to the point where you feel like, okay, I've one hit the floor or two gone far enough. And you may get a little adjustment. Pulling yourself up, the high hand goes to the chair, the other arm goes to the ceiling. You pause. Push your body weight into your leg so you can offload the arm that's on the chair. The arm that was on the chair goes to the leg that's bent, that is pressed open. Slide down. Look at the high arm. Ready? Glide up. High arm comes to the chair and the other arm raises to the ceiling. Open the knee to its proper position as you take the hand from the chair to the inside of the leg and you glide, looking at the high arm. This is your last one. Come up, both hands on the chair. Modified downward dog. Feet are hip width apart. Use your strong arms to drive your body to this nice long stretch, and then the head sits right between the arms. Again, another thoracic spine stretch. This is helping us stretch the connection between our triceps and our lats. All right, so you should be getting a really significant stretch through the pit, right? A few more seconds. Now, inch the legs together and then bend one leg. How's that stretch on the straight leg? Massive, I hope. Bend the other leg. Oh, when you bend the leg, don't let the heel pull from the floor. Bend both legs. Lower the hands to the floor. And maybe your hands don't get to the floor. Bend your legs as much as you need to get your hands to the floor, right? And then put your hands on your thighs. Use your strong arms to push yourself up and walk out of it. Grab a little drink. If you don't need a drink, I do. Okay, we're resetting ourselves. Move your chair, grab your mat. Time for some of the fun stuff. It's fun stuff for me, but probably more challenging stuff for most. You're done with your stick. Okay. So I want you to consider your space. And I want you to think and just know that you're not all the time going to be on your mat, because we're going to be doing some rolling, right? We're going to be getting from front body to back body to on our side. It's like a whole bunch of manipulation is going to happen, okay? So you shouldn't need anything except you and your mat. How are you going to get down on the floor? Right? I've already told you a bunch. How do we get belly down? What side do you want to roll to? Do you need your arms? I'm going to try to keep my arms kind of tucked up into my body, and what I'll end up using is more my elbows versus my hands, right? So if you start trying to commit yourself to rolling towards one side, you then are going to pull your knees forward, right? And then you're going to oomph yourself up, which might require you to use your down elbow to help push you up, right? And now let the legs work around to the other side and think belly down. I'm breaking this up into segments, right? Just to show you that you might, in order to feel like you're on your mat, you might have to do elbow, foot, move the hip, roll over. This is all stuff that we have to keep our body prepared to be contorted, right? Because think about, you sleep on one side of the bed, probably pull your legs through. So chances are, right? So much of what we do, we sit in one chair, like when we're relaxing. So we've got one side of us that's generally propped up, right? Do you use a recliner, right? Do you ever switch what piece of furniture you're sitting on? Do you ever switch what side of the bed you get in and out of? Rolling. Now, next phase, push yourself up to hands and knees. You're only going to be there for a moment. Bring the legs around. Was that hard? It may have been, right? Bring the legs around the other side. How do you get back to elbows and knees, even though I said hands and knees? Now you're on your elbows. Bring the legs around. That means both legs have to come around and you rock, and you might need your hands. It might be an impossibility for you to get your legs to swing and hinge, and then you figure out, how do I get down and roll? This, my friends, as I face the front, and I'll do this for you. This, as people get older, this is the part where they have the struggle is, right? They might be able to get on the floor, and then it's like, okay, how do I muster up the flexibility to even get themselves up to a loaded hand position? So that's why I want you to practice it, right? Roll and then lay down. Stretch yourself out. Roll onto your back. Take your time. And then if you're off your mat, bend your legs, bridge your hips, inchworm yourself back onto your mat. Ready? Knees to chest. What's it take to get you up? It's called rolling like a ball. And maybe you're like, I can't roll. So you're like, back to your elbow, folks. But if you can roll, down you go, up you go. If you can't roll, then you're actually doing a guided side down over to the other side, up. And then you would go to that other side, go down. You would want to be in an alternating lead. Okay. But for those of us that can roll like a ball, I want us to stay with rolling like a ball. Even if you're rolling like a ball feels really unsmooth, like it feels like you're not a ball, like it's more like a jagged stone, right? So long as you don't have pain, this is a really good movement for you. And I'm going to show you something that you may or may not want to try. It's going to be a little bit more progressive, to the point where my thought is, okay, I'm rolling like a ball and I want to stand up. You're like, but you didn't stand up. Exactly. It's the action of it. So roll like a ball, tell yourself, stand up. Try not to use your hands. Roll like a ball, and maybe you popped yourself right up. I could pop myself up if I use my hand a little bit, but I'm trying not to, right? So if I get enough momentum, I actually can stand up. And if I offset my feet, I can stand up. So I can use my hands and give myself a little bit of support, right? So if you're even remotely inclined to try some of the more progressive movement, it would look like this. One leg becomes the dominant leg, the other leg is outreached a little bit, and you put your hand down just to get the butt off the floor. You rock, one foot pulls back, the other leg extends, and you use your hands just to help you get off the floor, right? 5, 4, 3. It requires a huge amount of spine flexibility, leg strength, and ankle and calf flexibility and relax. So the leg position is the position that we go into when we're doing our knee gapping. In order to get from the bottom of the floor to a standing position, the leg, that ankle and calf have to be so flexible, because look how much compression has to happen in order to have leverage, right? And so that's your next thing, is you're going to grab a towel, and that might require you to get back up off the floor, right? And we're going to go into our knee gapping. Now, I'll say this, I'll set us all up as if we need the props, which I'm going to bring my Eric's pad into the equation. If you've got a nice dense pillow that you can sit on. There are things about that I find funny, right? Not like haha funny, but perplexing. So it requires a lot of strength to keep your body in its natural neutral S, right? Because most of us kind of get a little bit slouchy and the hips kind of collapse under. And that, I would think, would be a real beneficial position for the body when we go into the knee gapping, except it doesn't serve us. The spine being in collapsed spine so seldom serves us to any benefit. And so we're going to practice getting out of it. All right. So with your rolled up towel, put it behind your knee. Pull the heel as close to your bottom as you can get it. I hope you've elected to sit on a cushion, because that's going to help you get your spine to S. Now, if you don't have any pain, we're looking to not create pain. So where your heel sits is what's going to dictate that, right? With the towel creating the space, pull the heel back, no pain, and you just keep tucking the heel back until you feel like that's as far as you can go. And then your arms, hands, whatever, get to overlap and compress against that shin so that you can pull your torso up and into the thigh, into S-curve spine, because you want to weight that heel. That is what's creating this like forced compressed position, not only through the knee, but at the ankle. All right, here we go. We're going to hold for 10, 9, keep shoulders down, body in a forward lean. Switch sides. All right, there you go. I just like to work it a few seconds to make sure that it's right under that knee. And you'll know if you've got too much towel, because nothing will feel right about it. Pull the heel back as tight as you can. Make sure your toes are pointed straight ahead. Get cleanly on the sits bones. The chest lifts up, and you try to press the abdomen into the thigh while you're squeezing the leg, or some version of it. Now, this isn't what it's called in physical therapy. So for all of the people that I've worked with that have been post-knee surgeries, a multitude of different knee surgeries, not just knee replacement, generally this movement is done on the back, right? You bend your leg, and initially when you've got some things going on with your knee, right, you don't get as much knee flexion. But the goal is, I'm just going to show you real quick. Don't move. So people I've worked with in the past, right, they're laying down, and the goal is to get not the knee to the chest, it's to get the hand down towards the foot because that is doing an offloaded version of what our sit position is, but the end result is still the same. It's space. It's space in the stretch across the kneecap. So I know for a fact that I've done that with Marlene, but most people, right? Everything gets tight in there. So it's really hard to get it really pulled back and in the right spot. It's a great way to practice either like this or laying down, not necessarily pulling your knee to your chest, but getting your hand or using a strap or a towel to go across the shin or the ankle to get the heel as close to the back of the thigh as you can. Release and relax. Sit crisscrossed ankles for me. All right, we're in crisscrossed ankles. Now, shimmy your buns back away from your feet a little bit. And that, I hope, is going to help you forward fold. The stretch should already be happening. You might be able to feel it under the rump, okay? And in the event it's too much for your knees, go and put the feet, bottoms of feet together. If you can get yourself as far forward as your body will allow you comfortably, or you put your hands out and you kind of create a little bit of a brace for yourself. But if you can get your elbows to the floor and your forehead relaxing down, this is one of these times where we are in C curve, right? So the stretch is happening across the lumbar and the thoracic. And now walk yourself back up. So now I want you to think QL. Twist yourself towards one leg, lean forward. You're going to grab that leg. And because our hips are elevated, we've got a little bit more gravity-driven stretch. So you might need the free hand to help slow your lowering phase until you realize that you can get as far forward, not needing the hand for support. Okay, so if I didn't use too many words, you just want to make sure you're not overstretching, but what you should feel is a very specific stretch down the far side of the body, right? Push yourself up. Twist your shoulders towards the other side. Lean into it. I like to use my opposite arm to the knee that I'm bending into as the brace pulling me down into that leg. And the other arm is like it helps me put the brake so that I don't overstretch too quickly, too much too soon. And once I ease into it, then I can diffuse the tension on that other arm. And my body's like, okay, I can receive this without feeling like I'm overstretching. Can you relax the weight of your head? Now, pushing yourself up. Let's all go bottoms of feet to touch. And then shimmy your hips closer to your feet. It might take a series of tugging the feet back and then rocking the hips in. Having our hips elevated is also going to give us a better stretch position. So find your comfortable sit. If your body's in a rocked back position and you're just really heavy on the back end of what feels like the coccyx or tailbone, we need to project our spine to more up and then a forward position. So grabbing hold of your feet, all right, pulling up, pushing the knees down, and then you're going to take your arms, flare the elbows out, and see if you can get your elbows to project over the fronts of those shins. All right. Do you feel cockeyed? What does your body need to get your shoulders out of the ears? Your shoulder depressors are hard at work, keeping your shoulders out of your ears. And just try to lengthen the trunk and move the chest through this forward space. All right. We haven't done this one for a while, so I feel like I'm kind of in a slight stuck position. Like I don't feel like I'm real fluid here. I feel like I'm a little like cockeyed, and it's just been out of my off my agenda for myself to do this one, but it's super necessary. Okay, ready? And last but not least, go into your wide flared sit. Keep adjusting your sit position. All right. And I'm just going to keep pushing myself forward towards the front edge of my foam until I feel like I'm at my maximum width, right? Where the stretch is intense. Legs are straight, toes are pointed up, forward. I'm trying to get into a forward aspect of shoulders sitting forward of the hip, and that stretch just should be happening. If all you were trying to do is lengthen from right under the chest to the navel, right? It's just a small little adjustment, but that's all that needs to happen to get you from your curled under hips to your S sit. And now leaning to one side. Right? Other side. Why does it feel like they're so tight? Is it just me? Oh my goodness. Couple more seconds. Release and relax. Close the gap. How are you going to get up? Which direction you're going to go? Trying to figure out. I normally get up this way, which is really easy. So this is like what's called a shin box sit position. And so when I swing my legs the other way, I feel like I've got to like go, okay, the sensation of just having my legs this way feels like it's someone's other parts attached to mine. And because of the knee thing, I don't have any pain, but it's like a trained, your pain from previous injuries, even if you no longer have the injury, your pain kind of stays in the muscle memory. So the muscle remembers that, and it tries to guide you out of range of motion from previous injuries. So it's like a loss of mobility, even though you no longer have the injury currently. It's a strange thing. It's hard to diffuse that. Lift and breathe, release and relax. Too soft, philosophical for exercise, right? How the body holds on to trauma.